coming up on the Lead Ministry Podcast.
Conflict is not a problem to solve. It is a tension to manage. It is a part of life. You cannot avoid it. So conflict is normal.
Now your host, Josh Denhart.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Lead Ministry Podcast. Hey, guess what? If you've been in ministry for any length of time, oh boy, conflict. Yep. It's not something you want, but friend, it is a good case of the normals. My name is Josh Denhart. Grateful that you're here. And this is, again, the Lead Ministry Podcast. We do have an entire ecosystem of resources at leadministry.com. One of those resources we're highlighting this entire month. It's a course called Lead Conflict, how you can reduce the likelihood of conflict happening at your church, or when conflict does inevitably happen, that you know how to manage it as a good person and not a fool, which would then snowball and breed more and more and more conflict. Listen, Vance, grateful that you're here, buddy.
Hey, great to be back.
You
Thank
bet.
you for having me, Josh. It's always good to be with you.
Yeah, it's fun. I love this stuff. Now, I got to say, no amount of systems, no amount of intelligence, no amount of godliness is going to prevent conflict from happening. It's not
Right.
possible.
No, you can't avoid it. And if you try and avoid it, it just makes it worse.
Makes it worse. And so today on the podcast, it's titled very appropriately, Just Deal With It.
Yeah, I'm having like Nike swoosh in my mind. So it's not just do it. It's just deal with it. Just do it.
Deal with it.
Just deal with it.
Conflict is, and by the way, Vance, I got to say, I have been around long enough in life that I have seen two big categories of people who are willing to deal with it. And then there's another group that I kind of call the ostrich family. And they stuff their head in the sand and they're like, if I don't look at it, if this person can't see me, if I'm only in my office and you can't even find me on a Sunday morning, that conflict will go away. Those are the two categories of people.
I would submit there's a third category.
I'm all ears. What is it?
It's the people that are looking for the conflict. That they're just, please, conflict. They create it and they're morbidly thrive on it.
They're morbidly obsessed with controversy and getting in people's faces. Okay.
Absolutely.
So we've got the pendulum. We've got the people who are conflict hungry. We got the people who are conflict averse. And then we're hoping that those two people would move to the middle and become a better leader. And so today is going to be speaking some pretty important language. Just deal with it. Well, on the podcast, if you've been here for any length of time with us on the podcast, you know we got three big buckets. Let's define it. Let's develop it. And then let's make it practical so that you can do something different this week or this month. Well, let's jump into the definition or defining it. Big bucket number one, conflict isn't the problem. You kind of piqued my interest, Vance, because I would think that the conflict is the problem. You're telling us the conflict isn't the problem.
Well, right, because the conflict is the result of a problem. The conflict is the fruit of another issue. But I would also say that conflict isn't really a problem. It's because of these three things. Conflict is normal. It's bound to happen because we're all different, right? We are not the same. For
Agreed.
as close as you and I are, Josh, if we really got into it on, philosophy and there's going to be differences, right?
There is differences.
You and I are, there's a lot of alignment, a lot of air, but there's some place where we go, we're different. Now it doesn't make it bad, right? It's just, we're just different.
Okay, Vance, before we go on to the second one, I just got to say, I put this as the two great friends, even a best friend. I consider you one of my best friends, dead serious.
Yes.
But if you stuck us in a car for 20 hours of driving across the country, it's an inevitability that's going to be like, bro, I have an idea. how about you shut up and we're going to do it this way? Whatever. We maybe wouldn't say shut up, but the idea is even the best of friends, they aren't going to agree on everything. Therefore, what you're saying, number one, conflict is normal. It's bound to happen because we're different. Agree.
Yeah. Conflict is not a problem to solve. It is a tension to manage. It is a part of life.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot avoid it.
Mm-hmm.
So conflict is normal. Number two, conflict is natural.
Mm-hmm.
You're not the only one facing it. This is common to man. This is, it is something that we all experience. And it's, I think, part of God's design in that we make each other better. This is the iron sharpening iron.
Yep, I'd agree.
Without that, what is the iron sharpening iron? It's me challenging you, Josh, just saying, hey, the way that you're going about this, the way that you're doing this, you need to think about it a different way. You've challenged me. I've challenged you.
Yes,
that is part of why we are such good friends, is because I know that you'll call me out when I'm being a jerk, or if I need to see something from a different perspective.
And you've done the same for me. And by the way, can I be so bold as to say, I do believe it's part of God's plan. And I have vulnerably laid myself on the table in front of you for you to go, yeah, okay, this one's going to hurt. And I'm like, well, I came into this conversation begging for the hurt because I know I'm going to get better.
That's right. I'm thinking of the scripture. I can't remember where it is. I bet you do, Josh, because you know your Bible. But wounds of a friend are better than, finish it for me.
Yes. Faithful the wounds of a friend, but deceitful are the kisses of an enemy. Proverbs 27:3-4.
There. See, I knew you. Man, you know your Bible. I love it. But that's what comes to mind. This is why we don't avoid it. This is, and we've said this on the podcast before, but pain is the avenue in which God has chosen to allow us to grow. Conflict is a part of that. Finally, conflict is neutral. It isn't good or bad. What you do with it determines the outcome. So conflict is not a good thing or a bad thing. It is an inanimate object type. This is not a good or bad. This is just, it is. It's neutral. It is now what we do with it and how we give the conflict that becomes where it's like, well, way you handled this was good or bad.
Yes.
But the conflict itself is neutral.
Okay, so I got to say, if we were to not even move to another slide, and if we were to camp out on this alone, conflict is normal.
There for a while.
Conflict is natural. Conflict is neutral. There's a lot. This is a mind shift because often every one of us think that it's just bad. And I've thought that it's bad before, and it's like, oh, this is a problem. You are reshaping. This point alone is absolutely critical. Well, now that we've go ahead, one more thing.
Yesterday, I sat down with two leaders with a church that I'm coaching.
Yes. And
helping them process. We're actually building leadership pipeline and setting up some, the layers within the organization. Well, one of these leaders, their perception of how it was titled and that, well, is this a staff role or is this a volunteer role? And she had some deep convictions around this. And so what we were able to do is here's a conflict. I think something, you think something, he thinks something different. So how are we going to solve this problem? Well, what we do is we all share our thoughts and our opinions, and we rub the hard edges and the thoughts that we each have to refine it to get to something better. Conflict is the sandpaper that refines. It makes things smooth and better, but you have to go through the friction to get to the refinement. And
as you're saying, that conflict is normal. It's natural. It's neutral.
Yes.
Grow up and accept this as a reality. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So when tensions do rise, what do? So this is our second big bucket. We're developing it now. What do we do when tension arises? Well, there's 5 responses to conflict. Oh boy, these are painful. Should we throw them all out at once?
Sure, let's do it. Let's
Okay.
just get these all out here.
Let's just put it on the table. So I'm gonna let you read them, and I'm gonna throw them up here. Go for the first one.
All right, number 1, I'll get them. So that's retaliation. Response number 2 is I'll get out. This is an escape or avoidance. Number 3, I'll give in. This is full surrender. Number 4, I'll go half. This is compromise. And number 5, I'll deal with it. I'll address the issue.
Vance, this is a master class. Like, you're so smart. This is good stuff.
Yeah. So typically what we'll find is that we have a natural response. So in that, what is your natural response to when conflict arises? So this is what we need to do. What is my natural response to knowing that I need to get to number 5? That's what we talk. This is the title of this podcast. Just deal with it. So how do I deal with it in a healthy way? Now, sometimes compromise is the solution. It's the right response. Sometimes surrendering is the right response when you're in the wrong. Escape and avoidance is never it, and retaliation is never the correct response either. But we all have a natural, that fight or flight, our instant reaction.
Now, Vance, the first one, retaliation, never right. Escape or avoidance, never right. There is a version of surrender that is right. There is a version of surrender that is wrong, that you're an absolute walking doormat and you just cave and you capitulate and you don't have your own voice. You don't have a backbone. And there is a version of compromise that is probably really good, but then there's a version of compromise that is kind of a cousin to surrender.
So here's what I would say is, if surrender and compromise are the right thing as the result of working through healthy conflict, if it is the first step, wrong every time. But if you go through and address the issue and get to the root, because here's what we often do is we look at the fruit. This is the result of all this problem, this issue. And if I don't dig in and deal with the root, the fruit is always going to be wrong. And so my fruit often is to surrender immediately. Well, in this conflict, I've got to walk through it. We've got to have that sandpaper moment where we're refining each other. And if the end result is it is a compromise, or it is, man, I do need to surrender, then you work the process. But it's never the compromise and surrender are never the first step.
Man,
it
Vance,
should be always dealing with.
This is a master class, and I don't know if you came up with this from reading a book or you're just smart. And so this is really, really, really good stuff. Okay, conflict doesn't resolve itself. Conflict is like a wound that if not dealt with, it will fester and it will become infected.
Yeah, this is where in the work that I get to do with Slingshot, and we're talking with people, one of the biggest issues is church hurt. And you will begin to see somebody that has just an open, gaping wound, and they're, just bleeding.
blood is actually spitting out.
Blood is going everywhere. Well, conflict is like this. Now, often what happens is that wound, it will close up and it will begin to heal, and eventually it will become a scar. And it's a memory of what happened. If you don't deal with this and you just ignore it, it will become a wedge. It will become a root of bitterness. It will become a source of pain. And here's the reality. If you do not deal with it properly, what God will do, you'll run from a church, run from a leader. You'll go to the next place. Well, God loves you enough to put you in that same position again, to experience the same hurt again, until you deal with it properly. And so if you're out there listening to this and you're looking at a track record of history of all the people that have hurt you in a certain way, there's a really good chance, were those people wrong in what they did? Probably so. But there's a really good chance that you didn't deal with the hurt properly in your own heart. And you've allowed it to fester and become infected. Okay. God wants us to be wounded. We're wounded healers, But there's a difference in triage and bleeding everywhere and somebody that walks with a limp. Walk with a limp.
Walk with a limp, meaning that you have some history, but you've been healed. Now, my dad was a veterinarian, Vance, and he did a lot of work with some very expensive horses. It's just the way that the ball bounced for my dad. And there is a thing out there, and this is not a common concept that most people understand. The medical term in veterinary medicine is called prod flesh, P-R-O-D, flesh. Now, here's the interesting thing. I could be wrong on this, but just hanging around my dad, I kind of picked this up, that horses have the ability to superficially heal so that no more bad stuff gets in, but it is not healed under that superficial new layer of skin. There's a lot of bad going on under, but it's superficially healed. Okay? So all of a sudden, there's infection under, but on the surface, it's closed off. But now under that is a whole bunch of challenge. Your body is working on it. Your body is trying to combat that. But I have watched leaders who go, okay, the book of Matthew, it says that I need to forgive. I forgive. Superficial, but they are literally eroding on the inside. It takes hard work. And I'm not saying don't forgive them. I'm saying forgiveness is a thing that you have to work through, but this superficial healing, this prod flesh, it may have the appearance of, oh, everything's okay. But that may be another whole entire podcast. But I think that you're right, that if you don't deal with it, it's going to get worse. But another one that you're helping us learn here is build a fence, not a hospital. You say this, it is better to build a fence at the top of the mountain than a hospital at the bottom. Preventing conflict is the most effective way to deal with it. Couldn't agree more. You got to be proactive. I have some thoughts on number 2. You take it away, and then I'll jump in after a bit.
Yeah, so let me make sure we metaphor cement here. And really what we're talking about is there's going to be situations and where maybe you're introducing a new program, a new way of doing things.
Sure.
And you often, everybody has that person in their ministry that's the negative Nancy or the somebody that always has the questions and sometimes our tendency is just to avoid. And what that does is what we're doing is we're not building a fence, we're building a hospital because we know that the conflict is going to happen. They're going to tumble down the mountain and then we have to clean it up and help them heal and fix it. The best thing to do is address it head on. And that's where you're building a fence. I'm not even going to let this thing get to a point where this is going to get blown up and people are going to be hurt. I'm going to do the right thing, be proactive, get ahead of this and address the issue before it becomes an issue.
Okay, so what you're saying is up on the mountain, you're going to build a fence that's going to prevent people from falling over the fence and tumbling down the mountain. In other words, like if there is no fence, then people who are prone to maybe this, that, or what, they're going to just go running off and then they're going to be at the bottom. And now you've got cleanup on aisle 9. You could have prevented that. And the way that you prevent it is by addressing it proactively. Now, I got to say, I'll never forget this story. Shoot me, I guess, but it was I have 3 VBSs that I have produced. I self-publish them and they happen every single year all around the country. Fantastic. ScienceVBS.com. I'm for VBS. However, for our church, VBS was not the right thing. I love VBS. I've produced 3 of them, but for our church, it wasn't the right thing. So I went through a process to systematically share and cast a vision that we were going to dismantle VBS. And I'll never forget the week that it was announced, there was a little gaggle. I'll call them a gaggle because that's what they were. And there was one lady who, Vance, have you ever watched women's basketball? I haven't either. Sorry.
Yeah, I've watched college basketball back in the day, but
I was kind of being
WNBA, never seen a game.
Okay, I was kind of being deprecating there, but it is a joke, whatever. And by the way, Caitlin Clark from the great state of Iowa. Caitlin Clark from West Des Moines, Iowa, where I live. Okay. Now, have you ever seen the female basketball coach who's blonde and she's kind of slightly built, but she just walks real fast and she's just moving and she's right? So we had this person, this personality at our church, she would have been a fantastic caricature of a women's basketball coach. And I knew what they were talking about. And she was the little ringleader of this gaggle. And I began to approach, and I walked up to this group, and she looked at me, she put her finger out, and she goes, I am the last person that you want to talk to today. And I said, I put my head down, and I said, actually, you're the exact person that I want to talk to today.
Yes. Nailed it. That's
so
right.
Then she went off building a fence. And so I was like, let's just go here. Let's just talk about this. And we did. And she's fine. Okay.
Right.
Now, this next one that you're bringing up is, I don't know, Vance, in my house, we have these things called Pastoral Wisdom 101. So my kids, if I were to go, okay, Pastoral Wisdom 101, they would list off some phrases that dad has influenced them with. And if I were to say to my kids, Pastoral Wisdom 101, one of the ones they would say is, the issue is rarely the issue. When somebody's emotions outweigh the issue, brother, there's actually another issue. It's like, here's what I have said. To quote Shakespeare, thou doth protesteth too much.
Yeah.
Something else is really going on here. Yes, so you see, there's often a hidden and deeper issue that sometimes people aren't even aware of. Yeah.
Because what you're doing when you talk about the lady that put her finger in your face, that had nothing to do with VBS. Well, what is the issue? It could be an identity issue. That if somebody finds their value in what they do at VBS, and you just strip that away from them, could be their memories as a kid and what they experienced at VBS and wanting that for their children, and now they won't have that opportunity. Or the thinking of, I thought that my church was all about discipleship and VBS is the best way to. So there's always, it's not like these are evil people.
No.
They get it triggers something because it triggers the righteous indignation in them. They're trying to correct what is. Do you realize what you're doing? And so when somebody responds in a way that the emotions don't equal, just dig in, ask. It's a great indicator. Okay, we need to ask questions. Our first response is be defensive.
Yep.
Right. And defend our
wrong
and
move.
Double down on the why. Not going to work. That's just putting gas on the fire. When that happens, you go into question mode.
Yes.
I want you to visualize, this person is injured. They're on a gurney and I'm asking them to run and they can't. And so I need to investigate and figure, okay, what is the pain? What's the hurt that's causing this?
And I often say, can you tell me more? Can you tell me more about that?
Right. Yeah.
And so I want to get them talking, not that they're going to dig themselves into a hole, but I literally, with a pastoral heart, I want to get to the bottom of what is really, really the issue. Because if you don't really address the issue, this is nothing more than a glaze and you're in big trouble.
Yeah. The question you ask is not, so why is this making you so emotional? Why do you have such strong feelings about this? That's not the question to ask.
Yeah.
It's digging in to seeing where's the value, where's the hurt, what's the root issue? That's what you're trying to get at. So there's always a deeper issue and you can't take it personally.
That's right. And I really appreciate you got to ask questions. So this next one, emotions are stronger than logic. Emotions overtake logic and reason. That's a great one. People confuse their preference with rights, and they're not alone. We all do that together.
Yes. So often in the way I would put that, the phrase that I would use is to ask, is this a preference or a principle? And so when we're dealing with conflict and there's some disagreement, we go, is it for me? Is this a preference, something I want, something I like, something I prefer, or is this a principle? This is truth. This is based in a deeper conviction. and then trying to think through, is this for this person? Is this just a preference, or is this a principle?
Mm-hmm.
And so often where these conflicts come is we've tiptoed into something that's a principle for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're raising up, and they confuse often a preference that they have as a right.
Yep.
It can become a principle issue. This is a right, and how dare you change my rights? I deserve this or want this. When that happens, people are not. You can't. If people get to this level, you can't use logic and reason with them. You can't. You're just fighting a losing battle, and often you just need to revisit this and come back to it.
There's a lot of truth to it.
Let it be. But emotions are always stronger than logic in the moment.
I'd agree. This next one, this is another straight out of Pastoral Wisdom 101. If you ask my kids, they would say, hurt people hurt people. Emotional pain tends to show up in relational damage. Ask and respond with empathy, not with ego. Ask for God's eyes.
Yeah, this is exactly, this is something my dad taught me a long time ago. He used to have the analogy. He'd say, people are like often, if you see a hurt dog that you're trying to save that just get hit by a car, and you come up and you try and help them, or a stray. Well, what are they going to do? They're going to nip at you and try and bite you. And you're just trying to help them. They're scared. They're hurt. They're afraid. And so why do hurt people? It's because they're afraid. And so this is where we have to tap into the shepherd's heart to say, God, you called me to be a pastor. And so again, I'm not going to take this lashing out that I'm receiving
as personal,
and these words as personal, to go, God, let me see them as you see them. How is this person hurting, and how can I bring healing? How can I be an instrument of your healing to them? God, let me see them as you see them. And what you'll find is our natural tendency is to elevate and match that energy of their hurt, their pain, their lash. And it helps reduce that and go, oh no, this is the retaliation, right? This is where you can step into retaliation. Yes. They bit, I bite back. Okay. Not going to be helpful. That's not going to be a good move here. No. And understanding the hurt, understand that hurt people will hurt people. And I gotta say, man, early on, I just learned being a pastor in the kingdom means that I sometimes take hot shrapnel and I just absorb it. Yes. That's tough. Well, and you can't take it personally.
You can't take it personal. Your emotional health cannot be determined by somebody else's. If somebody's disagreeing with you, Vance, you're telling us you can't control how they feel. Don't allow their disappointment to dictate your mental health. Very interesting.
Yeah. So this is hard for, like Enneagram 7s or Enneagram 3s. These are people that thrive off of their perception of how other people view them.
Yeah.
I'm happy if you're happy. If you're pleased with me, then I'm great. But if you're not pleased with me, I'm going to have a rough time. And so we have to decouple our emotional health and our well-being. It can't be determined by how somebody else feels about us. Now, that's natural. Like, that's why we have a society that's held together, is because there is some recognition that I can't just do whatever I want whenever I want to do, and I don't care how other people feel about it. That's the other extreme. It's that I can't allow myself to go to a negative place. I'm going to choose to get off of the roller coaster of emotions that are dictated by when other people are high and they like me, I'm good. When other people don't and aren't pleased with me and there's conflict, then all of a sudden I'm not happy in life. You got to get off that roller coaster.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth to that. I can't base my health on somebody else's approval of me, because that's a really moving target. Well, another one, we got to keep her going here. Sometimes when you win, you lose. This right here, friend, I know where we're going with this one. This is my Achilles heel. Being right and winning often means somebody else is losing. This has been my problem my whole life. Talk to us. Heal me, Vance.
Oh my gosh. I had a boss one time that this was, he could not see this. And this is something I told him often. I just said, his name right now, you think you're winning, but you're not. Sometimes when you win, you lose. And he never got it. He even said, well, what does that even mean? And I'm like, well, you might be right, but how you're going about this and accomplishing this is eroding trust. It's killing morale. So ultimately at the end, you won, you were right, but man, you lost big time. It cost you a lot and you don't even know it. And
there have been times, Vance, in a church leadership setting, even in my marriage, whatever, that I have been categorically right, like dollars and cents, black and white. I'm right, but I was also so wrong. Yeah,
it's not what you say; it's how you say it.
There's a lot of truth to that.
This is more of a posture than it is a reality. You gotta make sure your heart posture is in the right position.
Okay, this next one. Know your hills to die on. Is this a principle conviction or is this an opinion preference? We talked a little bit about that. I think that's a very important one.
Yep.
And clarify what you're willing to fight for and what you're willing to release. I'll let you explain a little bit, but I've got a very short story that I'll share.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. You've got to figure out what are the things that, this is a line that I'm not willing to cross. This is where this goes into convictions where we all have different personal convictions. I'm not going to do this thing or let go of this thing because that would be denying what I feel convicted about and what God has called me to. And I think the Apostle Paul very clearly states that we all have different convictions, right? You may be convicted about something of what you're doing or not doing that I might not feel the same conviction. So what we can't do is infer our convictions on someone else.
Right.
And so it's knowing what are my convictions and what's a principle, what's a preference, what's an opinion.
This one may give some clarity. I'll go back here. Know which hills you're going to die on. Vance, when I showed up at the church as the children's director, the children's department was in charge of covering anybody who ever had any child care, daycare. We needed somebody to watch the kids. If it was the women's director, having a luncheon, pull together childcare. If it was the outreach person who's doing the cool car and bike show, which was a complete failure, well, we need to make sure our volunteers have their kids covered. That was on us. And all of a sudden I walked in, I was like, no. We are not your service here. If you feel that you need childcare, you find the volunteers and pull that off. And I basically, there's a lot of things that I would flex on, but everybody at our church knew not happening. This is a line that you're going to get a fight from me on this. And it kind of got established that we're not there is no movement here. And that was a hill that I was willing to die on. I had to fight that battle a couple of times, but then it became pretty clear that there was I kind of established a reputation. This is the line in the sand for our church. I have the backing of the senior leaders. This ain't happening. The conversation is dead. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Well, at the end of the day, we're talking about DIRT, dirt. Don't ignore relational tension. Don't let small problems become relational fractures. This is, you got to get the dirt out from under your fingernails, right? Don't ignore relational tension. Right. Address tension when it's still small and manageable. Practice direct, respectful, and grace-filled conversations. I mean, go with the dirt. Don't ignore relational tension, Vance.
This is when you've got the relational tension, you'll know because you see the person down the hall and you go, oh, you know what? I think there's something in my office I forgot. And you turn around or you take the exit because you're avoiding this person. It's the very person that you've got to lean into. That's the relational tension. You can't, that always, because you're avoiding the conflict, you're avoiding the relational tension. That's when you run to the pain. That should be an indicator for you. Are you avoiding this person? Don't ignore it. Step into it, lean into it, get the healing that you need to. So don't ignore relational tension.
This is awesome.
That's the do it.
The do it. Don't ignore relational things that are tensions. Well, listen, this is great. This has been again, another masterclass with Vance Martin. He's with Slingshot Group. He's a fantastic leader. We're grateful to have him on the podcast. We're grateful that you folks were on the podcast, and we will catch you on the next one.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of Lead Ministry Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. Make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and visit leadvolunteers.com for more episodes and resources. Thanks for listening.